Guess who's back? Back again.
Back again.
We are back.
We are back.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Guess who's back, back.
Guess who's back. Guess who's back.
Thank you so much, Cash. I appreciate you doing that with me. Welcome back to Talk Amongst Yourselves. We've been gone for quite a while, myself and Cash. I haven't had this engagement in a month, a bit more.
Actually, yeah, probably a month and a bit more.
Probably a month and a half,
Yeah.
which is quite disappointing. There is a reason though. Men have been booked and busy.
Booked and busy.
We're
securing
grateful.
The bag.
We'll talk about you first, Cash. You've been away.
Yeah.
I like to say hotspot hopping, eh? Cash has been between here and, where's that, PE, right?
Yeah.
Firstly, great experience.
No, great experience. It was good being out there. I was out there for the Kosafa.
Yeah, oh yes.
So yeah, so I was doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just say PE. Move reckless. That's why Ramaphosa is out here.
Yeah,
just,
Cash knows. You know what you saw.
down.
You know what
I
you
know.
saw.
Those beaches are full though, I must just say.
Were they?
Beaches are full.
Did you see the video of Ramaphosa sitting down, looking at the screen?
Oh yeah.
And they were playing the video. That was funny. What's not funny is COVID-19. Wear your masks, please. Sanitize, all that kind of jazz, so we can all stay alive. Now, let's get into sports stuff. Here's what we're going to do for just a little bit, not too long. We'll just talk about some of all the fun stuff that's been happening while we've been away and, over this past weekend, etc., etc. So let's start at football. This is always an interesting one, particularly because we've done a couple of episodes of this, maybe like 12, 13, somewhere there. And in most of those episodes, I have taken time and care to dissect the failures of Arsenal. At that time, Cash, I was slated, right?
Yeah.
I was almost excommunicated from football conversation circles. Yeah, this guy's talking crazy. Mikel Arteta is the king promised. He's the baby in a manger. And then all of a sudden, everyone has caught up. A month and a bit later, everyone's like, oh, you know what? You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong. Arteta sacked by December wouldn't hurt anybody, and that's just the relevant situation. Look, the wheels have really come off for Arsenal. That's just the truth. I didn't foresee it being this calamitous, honestly. I just thought that what people were expecting versus what they could actually deliver, which for me was more likely a top 6 finish. People were kind of saying shoe in for top 4 based on what happened last season. I kind of spoke about him taking out like fruit juice from the canteen and people going crazy about it, like, oh, look at this guy, a manager after our own hearts. And I spoke also about the fact that last season he won the FA Cup and he beat Liverpool when it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Liverpool won the league. Manchester City probably didn't want the FA Cup. Community Shield is a dead rubber. And that's just the relative situation. And here we are, a couple of months removed, and I get to say, I told you so. I told you so. But again, I couldn't have predicted it would be this bad. What's happening at Arsenal is a damn crime. And the narrative quickly changed. It used to be Arsenal lose, as they did in the early knockings versus Liverpool. And we were applauding Arsenal. By we, I mean the consensus crowd. That, oh wow, look at how they lost with such dignity. It was a spirited defeat. Guys were still pressing in the 80th minute, 3-1 down, but they're running everywhere, they're trying things. And there's only so long that narrative can go on for. And eventually you start to have to look really closely at what's happening at Arsenal. And you start to see that it doesn't seem like Mikel Arteta has any answers. Aubameyang can't get a kick. Lacazette is playing everywhere, quite literally from CT to CAM, CDM. He's moving all the way back. The young boys aren't producing at the level in which people had maybe expected. Offensively, they've lost their way. And if we're going to start having a conversation about Christmas sackings, every time we get into this season, particularly this time around the Premier League, managers start to look over their shoulders because things may happen. And I do foresee Mikel Arteta being one of the first. If I were to make, right at the top, if I'm going to guess, I would say Mikel Arteta first, then Solskjaer. Solskjaer, I think, has a little bit more staying power than Arteta because despite what we can say and what we can say about Solskjaer, he at least got them into the Champions League. He went out early, but you can see that without him being the successor that I think everybody had hoped for, he can kind of make a slightly better case than Arteta can for himself at the moment. So that's how I foresee it. I've made a couple of brazen predictions here. And I'm willing to stand by my predictions. If you remember, Cash, I predicted top 4 finish. I said, this is how it's going to go. It'll be Liverpool, Manchester City, no order after number 1. So Liverpool winners, Manchester City, Tottenham, and Everton. I stick by that. I still think those teams have a pretty good chance. Chelsea, of course, will say something else at this stage. But I know it's good. Now I'm just, listen, you live by the sword, you die by the sword of prediction. I'm sticking with it. So in my mind, if you're asking me to hedge my bets, it's Arteta, then Solskjaer. Arteta, I actually think, doesn't see out December. That's my bold prediction about
But
that.
then who do you think would replace him though?
I think it's a scramble for Pochettino. Now, I don't know how I don't know about Pochettino's patriotism and allegiances. I know you said he would never like coach at Barcelona or whatever the case is because of allegiances in Spain. I'm not sure if he feels the same way about London, but I do think one of those two teams needs a Pochettino. I think he's just better. He doesn't guarantee things, titles, etc. We don't see that in his resume, but he's better than what both teams have at the moment. He can make them better. And for a team like United, you get the sense that they're not too far off. Arsenal, a little bit more further away than United, but United are 2-3 signings away from being a competitor again. But we'll see. But Arteta certainly goes first. Doesn't see out December. You heard it here first, folks. And doubt me again. Doubt me again, like you did when I spoke about Arsenal not being ready for the season. And look at where we are now. All right, so that's what's happening over in England. Of course, there's so many other talking points. Manchester City, let's come here locally. All right, let's talk about what's happening over here. Firstly, this has been the year that has taken away so much cash. I don't think it gets worse than 2020. Cash and I were talking off air, and I was saying I can't wait for December to end and January 1st, 2021, because I think for a lot of us, without there being actually any real significance about the dates, it just feels like a reset. New Year always has this thing to feel like, okay, whatever's done is done. The year previous is over. We can start again. I think that's what I'm looking forward to, a lot of people. So obviously it was first Anleng on the road, and then Motjeka Madisha this past weekend as well. I mean, there was Maradona a month ago. I mean, it seems like it just continues to unravel. There was Papa Duke. I mean, it's crazy that I can just keep saying names of icons, Gerard Houllier now more recent. I mean, of people we've just lost in this time, and it's truly devastating stuff. And of course, condolences go out to the family, the Madisha family at this moment, and all the Sundowns contingent. But with regards to football affairs, Benni McCarthy has been unveiled as the new coach of Amazulu. Hey,
I was there yesterday.
Amazulu. Were you there?
Yeah.
You saw Benni in the 18 area?
In the 18 area.
I love Benni. I love Benni. I don't understand. I love Benni. I love Benni, and I think Amazulu have got an absolute steal because I rate him so highly. I think he's arguably one of the best coaches in South Africa. Doesn't have the lengthy resume, but what I saw from him at Cape Town City, he proved himself astute, he proved himself a forward thinker, and someone who can be trusted to carry on in the vein of good South African football coaches. I think Pete was kind of waving the flag extremely high. And now we are, as was said at the press conference, we're trying to now give South African coaches a chance, and Benni McCarthy certainly deserves his chance. In fact, Cash, you know, we had a video about it. I thought Kaizer Chiefs would be his destination, and they opted out and went for Gavin Hunt, but look how that's going. Again, I'm not saying I'm predicting things. I'm not saying I'm a prophet. I'm not Bushiri, I'm not Major One, none of that jazz. I'm just saying, these things I speak sometimes come to fruition. I said, not a good fit. I'm not sure if Benni McCarthy would have been better. But I mean, at the end of the day, the situation is what it is. Amazulu are a team that's rebuilding, and they look to be, in my mind at least, a team that have got themselves the best possible deal. They've brought in a lot of good players. I mean, look at that Amazulu team. It's not a team that you'll look at and say, they don't have contenders in that team. Benni McCarthy has the type of vision that I think he can take these players and make them and really create something special at Amazulu, particularly with the backing of the chairman. We know that there is going to be a lot of money pumped into getting Amazulu into a top prospect in South African football, and I do foresee this marriage, Benni McCarthy, Amazulu, going down well. Kolom Lambo's there. I'm looking at the team. Memela's there. Shabalala's there, obviously with his experience. There's talent, Chawapio. This is at the offensive end. You know, they also went on and signed Pagamani Mhlambi as well. There's Augustine Mulenga. I mean, the players are there. The ingredients are there. Benni McCarthy's about to win the league. You heard it here first, eh? Because look.
But I mean, that's what he did say. He's also in for the top spot.
You have to with these players. Look, and I know Benni he's probably going to get ahead of himself and want those results instantly. Amazulu have not been great. A few good performances here and there, but they haven't been great. But I trust Benni McCarthy to turn things around at that club. He's my guy, and I really do believe in him. I may even switch allegiances just for the season. I'll bring the green and white.
Are you going for the green and white?
Yeah, we'll be with the green and white. And that's just
There's two green and whites, eh? There's Bloemfontein Style together.
Yeah, and Bloemfontein's actually.
Oh wait, is it green gold?
It's green and white. You're right. It's green and white. You're not wrong. But I mean, look, we'll see how it goes. So that's what's been happening in football, at least by way of some of the biggest stories in my mind at least, right? We're just kind of picking things up here as we go. Let's turn our attention over quickly, Cash, to combat sport. My home. EFC didn't happen in November, as we had spoken to Graham Cartmel about. Apparently the company decided to kind of start again, also looking for January 1st, being that refresh, the reset. EFC will come back again January 1st. Graham Cartmel kind of says he's looking forward to major cards and big things that they'll be doing come next season. But I was watching the UFC this past weekend, and I tell you what, it was a humdinger. So Tony Ferguson, we'll talk about him very briefly. Tony Ferguson says he after that loss to Justin Gaethje, we spoke about it again on this show, he's coming back and he thinks that, you know, he's better than he's ever been. He makes a few changes in the back room. Eddie Bravo's out, a few others go, others come in, and we're thinking, okay, we're going to see Tony Ferguson 2.0. And I'm not too disturbed about the defeat to Nelson Oliveira. The defeat is what it is. I mean, on the night, Nelson was the better fighter. I'm more disturbed in the manner of defeat. If you watch fighting very closely, right, and you really look at it, there's certain telltale signs that a fighter isn't there anymore, you know? And isn't there as in he doesn't really, he'll show up to fight, but he doesn't necessarily, in the case of Tony Ferguson, want a repeat of what happened in the previous fight. Tony Ferguson took a beating to Justin Gaethje, the type of beating that changes the course of someone's career. And I think for him, that's what we've seen. The most alarming thing in that fight was how, when there was openings, and Nelson Oliveira gave him openings. I know most of the fight was on the ground, but there were brief moments of opening that you think Tony Ferguson post Justin Gaethje, he capitalized on those moments. He starts throwing the slasher elbows. He does unorthodox stuff. He takes a punch to throw two, or takes two to throw one major one. And it just seemed like he was tentative about throwing those punches, because I think in the back of his mind, that defeat is still there. The ability is there, but it's what Sugar Ray Leonard said. He said, you know, sometimes when asked about coming back to fighting at a particular time, he said, you know, when you're older, you know your body well. So making the weight is not difficult. Training is not difficult because you understand yourself. It's just that you don't want to take those punches anymore. That's the psychological mountain that it becomes is, I'm here, I'm great, I trained well. I just don't want to be hit by this guy. And I think in the back of Tony Ferguson's mind, unfortunately, there was that notion that what happened with Justin Gaethje can't happen again. And there was that fear and that anxiety. And when his openings were there, he didn't take them. He kind of stood there and did nothing. And on the floor, kind of felt like he was okay to be there. Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking nothing away from Nelson Oliveira. He fought almost a perfect fight. Some say, had they met even when Tony was on his run, he would have won. That's Daniel Cormier by some. I could, maybe, possibly, but it didn't seem to me like Tony was all there. That's just my opinion. Whether that's got to do with the new training team, mentally what happened with Justin Gaethje, what happens for him now is quite tricky because he's 37 years old, 2 defeats in a row, comprehensively. You start to think either he becomes the stepping stone for younger talents, that old guy who you beat and you know you put his name and you take him down, Tony, and you go and you know that guy who beats a legend in Tony Ferguson, or he comes back in the third fight if he is even offered a third fight at the UFC, because we know they're cutting people now. So we'll see how it goes. But two words, main event, Brandon Moreno, all right? Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno was potential fight of the year. If you haven't seen that fight, go watch it. It was the Rocky Balboa of UFC fights. Brandon Moreno, quote unquote underdog. Everybody said he's a good fighter, but this isn't ready for Figueiredo. Deiveson Figueiredo is a bad man. And that first round comes, you know you have problems, Cash. If you're in a fight and you're doing all of this stuff and I'm just standing watching you do it. You're here, you're trying to do all of that fancy stuff and I'm just like, okay, you know, take one of those. Whoa. That was the fight we saw. You know, Figueiredo has this way about him, this very calm, you know, this like manly man, which is funny because he used to be a hairdresser. It's a bit of we veer a bit left there. But I mean, he's got this thing about him and everybody, I think myself, expected Brandon Moreno to be consumed in the fire and the baptism that is Figueiredo. And that didn't happen. Brandon Moreno at the end of the day got a draw, didn't get the belts, but I think it's one of those fights where had he lost by decision or even got the draw that he got, he ultimately came out the winner because we all believe that what we saw from him was nothing short of exceptional. It was one of the best fights I've seen in my life, particularly because the odds were so skewed. It wasn't an equal fight by any stretch of the imagination, at least in our minds. We knew Brandon was good, but we knew Figueiredo was 10 million times better. And he's kind of leveled that playing field. Second fight, 2021. We'll see what happens. And hopefully this wasn't a one-off. We've seen it before where Fighters get in there with the champion, fight their hearts out the one time. They try to do it again. It doesn't really go the way it went the first time. This is John Jones, Gustafsson, when they fought back in 2000 and... when did the first John Jones Gustafsson, and then the second one happened. We thought, oh, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be, one of those really close fights, and then John Jones completely blows him out of the water. So we'll see how it goes. But if you have time, trust me, even if you're not a fight fan, you just want to see dope things happen in the ring. Watch that fight. So I want to wrap it up here. Cash. We'll talk boxing real quick. Anthony Joshua, he fought. He's going to fight Tyson Fury next year, potentially, depending on what they do with the mandatories. That's definitely the fight to make. It's unfortunate, though, that if what we're hearing about the vaccine, COVID-19, is anything to go by, the public will only start getting that in the second quarter or third quarter, which is around August, between June and August. They want the first fight to happen around May. There may be a few more fans, depending on how the virus goes in England, but not too many fans. There were talks about that fight in Saudi Arabia, which would be an absolute crime to take the biggest British fight of all time to Saudi Arabia. Okay, so that's out the way. That fight will happen. Paperwork between the mandatories, Joshua has to fight Usyk. We'll see if it happens. But here's the thing. 2 weeks ago, Cash, we were watching Errol Spence Jr., Danny Garcia, right? That's a massive fight. Errol Spence, I think, is second pound-for-pound fighter right now. Danny Garcia, no slouch. Errol Spence had that accident, kept him out a year. And it's, who is Errol Spence going to be in return? Can he be the same Errol Spence in which he was? That fight happens, Errol Spence wins. I don't have to tell you already, it was an amazing fight for someone who had been in an accident as horrific as Errol Spence. And then we started immediately talking about him fighting Crawford. Anyway, on the backdrop of that, Money Mayweather announces that he's going to fight Logan Paul. Logan Paul is a YouTuber, amateur. He fights one guy, KSI, other YouTuber, loses to KSI. And then he says he's going to fight Mayweather. We're like, this is crazy. Mayweather accepts the fight. I don't know if it's he needs the money. I think Mayweather's just attracted to large sums of money. Because everybody, and myself included, is like, this is a ridiculous fight. Who's going to make this fight? This would be a professional fight, which means no headgear, nothing like that. You're taking arguably the best fighter in the world, 50-0 record, and you're putting him against a guy who's got one professional fight, which he lost to another YouTuber. Who wants to see that? Everybody's going on. Oh, this is the state of boxing at the moment. Boxing is on the decline, etc., etc., etc. Here's my take, and then we're done. I don't think boxing is on the decline at all. I think what we're experiencing is what we're experiencing everywhere. The currency that matters most is not skill set, it's not proficiency, it's not being pound for pound number 2. What matters the most is clout. Floyd Money Mayweather feeds on clout, and he's realized one thing. Clout can make you a lot of money. Look what happened in election in America with the election. Donald Trump, when he was elected. Clout president, eh? It's all clout. Donald Trump won an election based on clout, based on what he was doing on social media, as opposed to what he was actually doing in the streets. It's the same way Floyd Money Mayweather realized that, you know what? I don't have to be fighting the top guys to be making the top dollar anymore. Gone are the days of having to fight a Manny Pacquiao or having to fight a Miguel Cotto. He can fight YouTubers and make equally as much, if not more. It's not a reflection on boxing or boxing being on the decline. I think it's two things. There are purists and there are casuals. Casuals are attracted less to your fighting acumen and more to clout. That's all they want. They don't want to know how good you are in the ring. They want you to have a really good story or maybe a real big grudge match between the two of you, and that's why they'll watch your fight. In the case of Money Mayweather and Logan Paul, it doesn't come more clouty than a YouTuber with 500 million subscribers online and all that kind of jazz. So it's not an indictment on boxing, I don't think. I think it's more just Money Mayweather realizing that the real gap here is with the clout. He's chasing the numbers and not the numbers per se in the ring and how many knockouts and records. He's chasing YouTube followers and streams and all that kind of jazz that we today have accepted as a social currency. And that's the situation with that. So that's my thoughts on everything that's been happening. It's a bit of a long one, I'm not sure. We went into the waters here.
It was a long one.
It was a long one?
Okay, it's been a while.
I have so much to say. So much to say. Aphiwe Dyantyi. Can we leave it here?
Okay.
4 years. 4 years. They gave him 4 years for a doping ban. Aphiwe Dyantyi, you know him, breakout star of the year in 2018. He was on his way to the World Cup, gets picked on a doping charge just before. The story is he drank his friend's water at the gym. And that's how he got four banned substances in his system. Now, firstly, I just want to answer 2 questions. I know I said I was done. Everybody always says, why do people dope? Certainly you know you're going to get caught. Why do people do it? I'm not even saying he's guilty. There's an appeal process, but right now he stands guilty until appeal. Firstly, I remember talking to the CEO of SAIDS, and he said to me, doping is just a reflection of society. Why do people do anything illegal? Right? Why do people rob, steal, kill? Because you're not going in there thinking I'm going to get caught. You're trying to get an illegal advantage over your opponent and ultimately ride into the sunset. So number one, the question isn't why do people dope? It's why do people do anything in life that they're not allowed? And secondly, my thoughts on Aphiwe Dyantyi and the 4-year ban, it's terribly painful for such a bright talent. His story to the top is one that I'll still keep with me. And every time I think about it, it almost brings emotion to my eyes because he was one that so much was promised and he was delivering on all those promises. But you have to be more responsible than that. If indeed there was an error of drinking someone's water at the gym, why even take the chance? Do better, you know? So I'm one of those people who are disappointed in the result, but I'm not angry because the system worked. The job of the system is to point out perpetrators and find people with things in their system. How it got there or how it's supposed to not get there, that's on you. So if this is Aphiwe's swan song in rugby, it's truly unfortunate, but we're hoping that if the appeal doesn't work, after 4 years, he's 28. Can he start a career at that point? I don't know, but yeah, it's bitterly disappointing. But that's the show. Thank you for talking with me. You know you continue the conversations in the comment section below. And yeah, we'll do it again soon. Maybe next year.
Next year, I think.
Yeah, I've said a lot. Maybe next year. My lips are getting all dry and stuff.
They can even consume this in parts.
Yeah, no.
You know,
actually, we'll chop it up into little 60-second pieces.
Exactly.
You know, as a salt. Yeah, like that. Anyway, Cash, thank you so much, brother. It's been good to run this one with you. And you too. Thank you very much. Don't forget to do all the YouTube necessary things as you would wear a mask and sanitize. Like, comment, and subscribe and share.
Yes.
What else? Did I miss something?
You got all of it.
All right, cheerio.